You ever sit at a dinner table surrounded by people who are supposed to love you, and realize every single one of them already decided you're the villain? Yeah, that was the night I understood my own brother had been destroying my life for years. And the worst part, I didn't even know why. My name's Daniel. I'm 32, and for most of my life I believed family was the one thing you never had to question. Turns out, blood can lie better than strangers ever could. It started slowly. Little comments, little accusations, tiny shifts in attitude. My mom stopped calling as often. My dad suddenly became cold whenever I talked about work. My cousins quit inviting me to family events. At first, I thought everyone was just busy. Then, Thanksgiving happened. I walked into my parents' house carrying 2 pies and a bottle of wine, expecting the usual chaos. Football on TV, my aunt arguing about politics, kids screaming upstairs. Instead, the room went quiet. Not normal quiet. The kind where people stop talking because they were just talking about you. My younger brother Tyler stood near the kitchen island smiling like nothing was wrong. "Hey man," he said casually, but nobody else smiled. My mother barely hugged me. My father wouldn't even look me in the eye. I remember sitting there wondering if I'd forgotten someone's birthday or missed some family emergency. Then my Aunt Karen said it. "So, are you still gambling?" The room froze. I stared at her. "What?" She looked confused. Tyler looked nervous for exactly half a second before lowering his eyes like he felt bad for me. That was his talent, pretending innocence while lighting fires behind people's backs. "I don't gamble," I said. My dad scoffed. "Then where'd all your money go?" I laughed because I genuinely thought this had to be some misunderstanding. "I bought a condo last year." Tyler suddenly jumped in. "Dad, don't start. That sentence sounds harmless." It wasn't. That sentence made him look like the good brother trying to avoid conflict, which automatically made me look guilty. That's manipulation 101. Plant suspicion, then act compassionate. People trust the calm one. I looked around the room. Everybody believed something about me that I didn't know existed. And somehow, Tyler already knew the entire story. That night I drove home angry and confused, but mostly hurt. Because Tyler and I used to be close. Not movie close, but real close. We grew up sharing a room because my parents struggled financially. We protected each other from our father's temper. We worked jobs as teenagers to help pay bills. I always thought we survived things together. Apparently, only one of us meant it. 3 days later, my mother called me. "Daniel," she said carefully, "if you're in trouble financially, you can tell us." That's when my stomach dropped. This wasn't random gossip. Someone had been feeding my family lies, consistently. Detailed lies. I asked her directly, "What exactly have you heard?" Silence. Then she sighed. "That you lost money gambling. That you borrowed from Tyler. That your drinking has gotten worse." I almost drove off the road. Drinking? Borrowing money? What the hell was happening? I barely even drank, and Tyler had never loaned me $1 in his life. Then my mom said the sentence that changed everything. "Tyler's been covering for you because he didn't want us judging you." I pulled over immediately, because suddenly it all made sense. Tyler wasn't just spreading rumors. He was positioning himself as my protector, which made his lies believable. That's the genius part about fake concern. Nobody questions the helpful sibling. I confronted him the next day. He laughed. Actually laughed. "Bro, you're being paranoid. Mom thinks I'm an alcoholic." "Well, maybe stop acting unstable then." That sentence hit me like a punch. Not because it hurt, because it sounded rehearsed. Like he'd already been building that narrative for months. I stared at him. "Why are you doing this?" And for a second, I saw it. Jealousy. Pure jealousy. "You always think you're better than everyone," he snapped. I blinked. What? The condo. The good job. Mom and Dad worshipped you for years. I genuinely couldn't believe what I was hearing. Because Tyler had always been charismatic, funny, social. Everyone loved him. Meanwhile, I worked 70-hour weeks just trying to survive. But jealousy doesn't care about reality, only perception. You know what your problem is? He continued. You think being responsible makes you special. Then he smiled again, that fake calm smile. But don't worry, I'm sure eventually everyone will forgive you. That's when I realized something terrifying. This wasn't temporary. He wanted to replace me, and somehow it was working. Over the next few months, things got worse. My father stopped answering calls. My cousins ignored my texts. My mother constantly checked on me like I was hiding some addiction. And Tyler? He became the hero, the caring son, the dependable brother, the peacemaker. Every lie he told made him look better. Then came Christmas, the final humiliation. My father handed Tyler an envelope in front of everyone. Inside was the deed transfer for our grandfather's cabin, a property both of us were supposed to inherit equally. Dad looked directly at me. We need someone responsible handling family assets. I felt heat rise into my face. Tyler acted shocked. No, Dad, I don't think. But he took the envelope anyway. Of course he did. And everybody watched me like they expected me to explode. That's when I understood Tyler's real strategy. He'd been provoking me for months, hoping I'd eventually snap. One angry outburst from me, and all his lies would become truth. So instead, I smiled, and that terrified him. Because manipulative people rely on emotional reactions. Calm people are dangerous. That night I went home and started digging. If Tyler built this fake story carefully, then he'd made mistakes carefully too. I started with social media, then old Venmo transactions, then mutual friends. Then one tiny detail changed everything. Tyler had been telling our family. He loaned me thousands of dollars over the past year. But Tyler was broke. Completely broke. His credit cards were nearly maxed out, which meant only one thing. He needed money badly. I called an old friend who used to work with Tyler, and what he told me nearly made me sick. Tyler had been fired 8 months earlier for stealing client payments. My family thought he'd been promoted. He'd lied to everyone, including me. Suddenly, every puzzle piece connected. He wasn't destroying my reputation out of insecurity alone. He needed a distraction. If the family focused on my problems, nobody would investigate his life. And then, I found the real bomb. Tyler had secretly taken money from our parents. Almost $40,000. Using fake emergencies and emotional manipulation. I sat there, staring at bank screenshots, feeling physically ill. My brother didn't just lie. He used our parents, and somehow convinced them I was the failure. I could have exposed him immediately, but I didn't. Because I wanted proof nobody could deny. So I waited. 2 weeks later, Tyler organized a family dinner. Classic Tyler move. Control the environment, control the narrative. The second I arrived, I knew something was coming. My mother wouldn't look at me. My father looked furious. Tyler looked calm. Too calm. Then my dad slammed paperwork onto the table. Care to explain this? It was a credit report. Someone had opened a loan inquiry using my father's information, and Tyler had convinced them it was me. I looked directly at him. He shook his head slowly, like he was disappointed in me. Oscar-worthy performance. My mother started crying. You're tearing this family apart. That sentence broke something inside me, because for months I'd stayed quiet to avoid hurting them. Meanwhile, Tyler kept escalating. And suddenly I realized something. Silence protects manipulators, not families. So I reached into my backpack and pulled out a folder. A thick one. Tyler's smile disappeared instantly. "You're right," I said calmly. "Someone's been destroying this family." Then I opened the folder. Bank transfers, employment records, termination documents, screenshots, fake text messages Tyler sent himself, everything. The room became dead silent. My father's face drained of color as he flipped through the pages. My mother kept whispering, "No, no." Tyler tried laughing. "This is insane." Then I played the audio recording. See, after years in corporate management, I learned something important. Manipulative people confess when they think they're smarter than you. A week earlier, I secretly recorded Tyler bragging in a bar. He literally laughed about turning the family against me, called our parents easy to control, said I was too soft to fight back. I'll never forget the look on my mother's face, hearing that recording. It looked like heartbreak physically hurt. Tyler stood up immediately. "This is out of context." Then the second recording played. Him admitting he stole money. Him mocking my father. Him saying he'd eventually get the entire inheritance once everyone stopped trusting me completely. My father started shaking, not from sadness, from rage. Tyler looked around desperately, realizing nobody believed him anymore. And for the first time in his life, he had no performance left. No fake concern, no charm, just panic. "You set me up," he snapped. I stared at him calmly. "No," I said, "you did." Then came the moment I'll never forget. My father looked at Tyler and said, "Get out." Tyler froze. "Dad, get out." The entire house echoed. My brother looked at me one last time expecting mercy. But after spending a year watching my own family slowly hate me, I had nothing left to give him. He left without another word. And the second the door shut, my mother collapsed crying. Not delicate crying, the kind that comes from realizing someone you loved never existed the way you believed. Over the next few months, everything unraveled. My parents discovered Tyler's debts were even worse than we thought. He'd manipulated multiple relatives for money, lied to girlfriends, faked business opportunities, burned friendships. Eventually, nobody trusted him anymore. And the crazy part? He still blamed me. Manipulators always do, because accountability feels like betrayal when you're used to escaping consequences. As for me, things slowly healed. Not perfectly. Trust takes time to rebuild, especially after people choose lies over you. But one night, my father came to my condo carrying a box. Inside was the cabin deed. He handed it to me quietly. "I should have known better," he said. I looked at him for a long time before answering. "You should have." That hurt him. I could see it. But sometimes truth is the only thing strong enough to repair something broken. Today, I still think about Tyler sometimes. Not with anger. Honestly, mostly disappointment. Because he could have been my brother forever. Instead, he turned life into a competition nobody asked for. All because he couldn't stand feeling second place in a race I never knew we were running. And if there's one thing I learned from all this, it's this. The most dangerous people aren't always the loud enemies. Sometimes they're the ones smiling beside you, while quietly teaching everyone else to hate you.